Good morning. Time for my top 10 songs from 1971. Yeah, it was a great year for songs. I was 17 years old and I listened to the radio a lot. And I was into Top of the Pops, and these are those magical moments that I want to try and recreate for you. And if you're young, maybe you'll explore these songs and realise how great they were. So let's get started. Number 10, Maggie May, co-written by singer Rod Stewart and Martin Quententon. It was from his hit album Every Picture Tells a Story, which was released a little later in the year. Background to Maggie May, it expressed the ambivalence and contradictory emotions of a boy involved in a relationship with an older woman, and was written from Stewart's own experience. Stewart recalled, Maggie May was more or less a true story about the first woman I had sex with at the 1961 Berlin Jazz Festival. The woman's name wasn't Maggie May, though. Stewart has stated that the name was taken from an old Liverpudlian song about a prostitute. The song was recorded in just 2 takes in one session. Drummer Mickey Waller often arrived at the recording session with the expectation that a drum kit would be provided, and for Maggie May it was. However, they forgot to supply cymbals to the drums, and so those crashes had to be overdubbed separately a few days later. Released as a B-side to Reason to Believe, soon radio stations began playing Maggie May in preference, and it became the more popular side. The song was Stewart's first substantial hit as a solo performer and launched his solo career. It remains one of the best-known songs. A 71 performance of the song on Top of the Pops saw the Faces joined on stage by DJ John Peel, who pretended to play the mandolin. The mandolin player, of course, on the actual recording was Ray Jackson of Lindisfarne. The album version of Maggie May incorporates a 30-second guitar solo, would you believe? And Henry, composed by Martin Quententon, was the source for that. In 1971, the song went to number 1 in the UK singles charts for 5 weeks. Rod recalls, at first, I didn't think much of Maggie May. I guess that's because the record company didn't believe in the song. I didn't have much confidence then. I figured it was best to listen to the guys who knew better. What I learned is sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. Sums it up, really, Rod. Great song. 9 then. This is Family Affair. It was a number 1 hit single recorded by Sly and the Family Stone. Their first new material in nearly 2 years. Family Affair became the 3rd and final number 1 pop single for the band. The cover version by John Legend, Joss Stone and Van Hunt won the Grammy Award, would you believe, for Best R&B Performance by a Duo or Group with vocals at the 49th Grammy Awards ceremony. And the hit single featured a program rhythm track and electric piano-based instrumentation. Family Affair was markedly different from the earlier Sly and the Family Stone hits. Consultant for engineering Richard Tiles muted most of Sly Stone's guitar parts while emphasising the piano, electric that is, played by Billy Preston, and edited the rhythm box to sound like a heartbeat. Family Affair was the most successful hit of their career, peaking at number 1 in the Billboard charts. The musicians on this classic include Sly Stone arrangements, drum programming, keyboard programming, synthesizers, guitar, bass, keyboards and vocals. What a busy guy. Rose Stone was on vocals, keyboards. Billy Preston played keyboards. Jerry Martini was on tenor sax. Anthony Robertson trumpet. Freddie Stone guitar. Ike Turner also on guitar, and Bobby Womack on the guitar. And then we had Larry Graham on bass and backing vocals, Glenn Edico on drums, and Jerry Gibson on drums, and Little Sister backing vocals. So now you know. Number 9, Family Affair, Sly and the Family Stone. Absolute gem. So to 8 then, Imagine, sung by British rock musician John Lennon, of course, from the album of the same name, released in 1971. The best-selling single of his solo career, the lyrics encourage listeners to imagine a world of peace, without materialism, without borders separating nations, and without religion. Shortly before his death, Lennon said that much of the song's lyric and content came from his wife, Yoko Ono, and in 2017 she received co-writing credit. Lennon and Ono co-produced the song with Phil Spector, and it was released as a single in the US, where it peaked at number 3. The song was first issued as a single in the UK in 1975, however, to promote the compilation Shaved Fish. It later topped the chart following Lennon's murder in 1980, was named by BMI as one of the 100 most performed songs of the 20th century. And in 1999, it was ranked number 30 on the RR Race Song of the Century. Imagine sold more than 1.7 million copies in the UK. It's been performed by 200 artists who covered the song, featured in the 2012 Summer Olympics as a theme song, and in the opening ceremony of the 2022 Winter Olympics. It still remains controversial, however, and of course, the infamous Steinway piano adorns the single cover. That's where Lennon composed Imagine, and it was bought by singer George Michael in 2000 to keep it in the UK. Several poems from Yoko, 1964, Grapefruit, inspired Lennon to write the lyrics. One in particular, titled Cloud Peace, were an extract. Imagine the clouds dripping, dig a hole in your garden to put them in. Lennon later said the composition should be credited to Lennon and Ono. A lot of the lyric and the concept came from Yoko, he said. But I was a bit selfish in those days, a bit more macho, and I sort of admitted her contribution. When I asked about the song's meaning, Lennon said that Dick Gregory had given Ono and him a Christian prayer book, which inspired him towards the concept of positive prayer. If you can imagine a world at peace with no denominations of religion, not without religion, but without this "my God is bigger than your God" thing, then it can be true. The World Church weren't too impressed, and he had lots of problems in that area. And I won't bore you with the details. But anyway, it's an absolutely iconic song, and I can't quibble with it, although it has to be said, I rarely listen to it now. But there he is, co-produced by Phil Spector, and it's Imagine at number 8. Oh, to number 7 then, Brown Sugar, a song recorded by the band, the Rolling Stones, of course. It's written primarily by Jagger. It's the opening track and lead single from their album Sticky Fingers. It became a number 1 hit in both the US and Canada. In the UK and Ireland, it charted at number 2. It's credited in the US to Jagger and Richard, although, as I say, Jagger really was behind it. And he wrote it during the filming of his movie appearance in the Ned Kelly film in 1969. And according to his then girlfriend, Marsha Hunt, and the mother of his first child, Carice, he wrote the song with her in mind. However, former ICAT Claudia Lenya disputes this claim, saying that it was written about her. Oh, isn't it typical? The two women should fight over the glory of having a song written about them. And anyway, Lenya was dating Jagger when it was written, but that's all Bill Wyman could contribute to the controversy. Recorded at Muscle Shoals School Sound Studio in Alabama, the song wasn't released until a year later due to legal wranglings with the band's former label. And then Mick Taylor, who had just joined, replacing Brian Jones, was involved, and the Stones then debuted the number live at the famous Altamont Speedway Festival. And Jagger says the lyric was all to do with the dual combination of drugs and girls. This song was a very instant thing, a definite high point. Brown Sugar can be seen as a commentary on the history, morality and dynamics of white male on black female sex and how power and status has influenced it, particularly in Western culture. Jagger attributed the success of the song to a good groove, and after noting that the lyrics could mean so many lewd subjects, he again noted that the combination of these subjects, the lyrical ambiguity, was partially why the song was considered successful. That makes it the whole mess thrown in, he noted. God knows what I'm on about on that song. It's such a mishmash, all the nasty subjects in one go. I would never write that song now, he said. And anyway, that is all I've got to say about this lyrical content. It's a tremendous song, was part of their live set for years and years and years, and it's Brown Sugar, number 7 on my top 10. To 6, this is I Know I'm Losing You, originally in a 66 single by The Temptation for Motown. It was written by Cornelius Grant, Eddie Holland and Norman Whitfield, produced by Whitfield. And it was described, Billboard described the song as a blues swinger with a solid dance beat and powerful vocal workout. However, we're on 1971, and that was when Rod Stewart covered it as a single in the US and recorded a version on that Every Picture Tells a Story album. Okay, the single reached 24 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it was really a tremendous song, and that's why I've got it in this top 10. It reached 24, as I say. He previously performed this, Rod, with the Jeff Beck Group earlier in 67 on Saturday Club, which was a BBC programme. Anyway, I love it. I love the way Rod swings into the vocals, and the guitar by Wood is exceptional. And it's number 6 on my countdown, my top 10, 1971. I Know I'm Losing You by Rod Stewart and the Faces. So we're up to 5 now. Real classics on this top 10, I must admit. What's Going On? Written and sung by singer-songwriter Marvin Gaye. And it was released in 1971 by Tamla Motown, originally inspired by a police brutality incident witnessed by Ronaldo Obi Benson. And the song was then composed by Benson, Al Cleveland, and Gaye. And Gaye, of course, produced the song. It marked Gaye's departure from the Motown sound toward more personal material. It later topped the Hot Soul singles charts for 5 weeks and crossed over to number 2 on the Billboard. It would sell over 2 million copies, becoming Gaye's second most successful song to date. I won't ask you to guess the number 1. Its inspiration then from Ronaldo Obi Benson, who was a member of the Motown vocal group, the Four Tops. And after he and the group's tour bus arrived at Berkeley in 69, he witnessed the police brutality and violence in the city's People's Park during a protest held by anti-war activists in what was hailed later as Bloody Thursday. Anyway, he basically got together to write this song, and the question was, why are we sending kids so far away from their families overseas and attacking their own children in the streets? It was a very, very significant composed song, which Gaye took on board. However, when presented with the untitled song, Gaye added a new melody and revised the song to his liking, adding in his own lyrics, and added some things that were more ghetto, more natural, which made it seem like a story rather than a song. He tailored the hell out of it. Gaye titled it What's Going On when Gaye initially thought the song's melody feel would be appropriate to be recorded by the band The Originals. However, Benson convinced Gaye to record it himself. And it's obviously a very influential song regarding the social ills in the United States, citing the Watts riot and the world exploding around me as Gay saw it. And also, it was very impactful with regard to the fact that Gay's brother, Frankie, had served 3 years in the Vietnam War, and his cousin had died serving in that war. Okay, so inspired by all this, it's an absolute gem. I won't go on too long about it. We've already had 3 minutes, but it's got a great instrumentation. Gay plays piano and keyboards and a box drum to help accentuate Chet Forrest's drumming, would you believe? And on the song's layback approach, other participants included Mel Farr, Lem Barney, and the Funk Brothers, of course. Who else? And the vocal chatter engaged in a mock conversation at the beginning is very impactful. And I'll say no more, just to say what's going on. Marvin Gaye, absolute. So to my number 4 on this countdown, Wild Night, song written by Northern Irish singer-songwriter Van Morrison. Who else? Opening track on his 5th album, Tupelo Honey, released as a single in the States. I didn't see it in Britain, but I've put it in here because it's such a huge song. He continued to perform this song in concerts throughout his career, and it's been recorded by numerous other artists. First recorded doing a session with Louis Merenstein as producer at Warner Studio in New York in '68. But the version released on Tupelo Honey was recorded in San Francisco with Ted Templeman as the producer. It's been described by critics as an effusive 3.5 minutes of Stax-inspired R&B, buoyed by a sweet guitar lick from one Ronnie Montrose, which was of such quality that would make Steve Cropper proud. Also described by another critic as an intriguing self-penned composition, praising the electrifying vocal and musical performance. Morrison's voice is in rare form, and that the rock and roll flavour is sure to please many fans. Okay, so another critic commented that recorded live in the studio was Wild Night, as most of Van Morrison's materials were at the time. It sounds intricately layered, highly sophisticated, like a speeded up Steely Dan meets Alan Toussaint, the critic described. Fluid but meticulous, ultra-rehearsed but effortless. It promises a party to come, and it surely delivers. And as I say, continued on his set list right up till 2009. And just to go through who performed on this beauty: Van Morrison on rhythm guitar and vocals, Ronnie Montrose electric guitars, Bill Church provided the bass, Louis Gasca the trumpet, Gary Malabar was on percussion, John McPhee pedal steel guitar, and Rick Slozzer drums, and Jack Schroer on alto and baritone saxophone. Absolute gem. Wild Night, Van Morrison. It's my number 4. So at number 3 in my countdown for the top songs from 1971 is the theme from Shaft, written and recorded by Isaac Hayes in 1971. This soul funk style theme song was the theme to the film Shaft, a great movie. The theme was released as a single, shortened and edited from the longer album version 2 months after the movie soundtrack by Stax Records. The theme from Shaft went to number 2 in the soul singles charts and number 1 in the Billboard Hot 100 in November 1971. It's considered by some to be one of the first disco songs. Following year, it won the Academy Award for Best Original Song, with Hayes becoming the first African-American to win that honour, or any Academy Award in a non-acting category, as well as the first recipient of the award who both wrote and performed the winning song. The song had to familiarise the audience with the film character. This was part of Hayes' instructions, He recorded the rhythm parts on the theme first, scored the entire rest of the film, and then returned to the theme song. The opening 16-note hi-hat ride pattern was played by Willie Hall and was drawn from a break on Otis Redding's Try a Little Tenderness, the Stax record on which Hayes had played. Didn't know that. Guitarist Charlie Pitts' wah-wah effect was common in the 70s in the funk music community. The synthesized keyboard is played by Hayes, and the intro lasted for more than 1.5 minutes before any vocals were heard. The lyrics describe John Shaft's coolness, courage, and sex appeal, and Hayes' lead vocals were punctuated by a trio of female backup singers. And at one famous moment, Hayes calls Shaft a bad motherfucker before the backup singers interrupt the implied profanity with the line, "Shut your mouth." Hayes immediately defends himself by replying, "I'm talking about Shaft," with the backup vocalist replying, "We can dig it." The song was considered very racy for its time, and the song was not intended to be a single, but the success of the film and the popularity of the track in nightclubs led to a 45 record of the film being released on Enterprise Records. And then it hit number one in the Billboard Hot 100. It had an enormous influence on the disco and soul music of the decade. Following the Academy Awards honour to Hayes, the Reverend Jesse Jackson and the Stax staff dedicated the win to the black community at a rally. And later that year, Hayes performed the song live at the Wont Stax concert in Los Angeles. And on a 2003 remastered version of the Wont Stax film, Hayes' performance of Theme from Shaft was reinstated. Finally, let's have a look at the personnel. Isaac Hayes on lead vocals, keyboards, lyrics and arrangements. Pat Lewis, Rose Williams, Mitchell Butler and Thelma Hopkins on backing vocals, Lester Snell on electric piano, David Becker on viola, Charlie Pitts and Michael Tolles play guitar. Mark Dr. Love Davis is credited with the guitar solo, and James Alexander with the bass guitar. Richard Johnny Davis played trumpet, and John Funfield flute, and finally Gary Jones on congas and Willie Hall on drums. So that's just about covered it. So we're up to number 2 on my top 10 for 1971. And at 2, Tired of Being Alone, soul song written by the great American singer Al Green, who later became Reverend Al Green, reached number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100 and 7 on the soul single charts in 71. Background to this song then, it was released on the 1971 album Al Green Gets Next to You, and written in late 68 and intended to be released on the 69 album, Grooney's Blues. However, there was some problems occurred with the first recording, so it was postponed for production. Altered and perfected, it then appeared the second time around. It was produced and recorded by Willie Mitchell and mixed by Mitchell and Terry Manning. In 72, Green performed the song with Chicago on a TV special, Chicago in the Rockies. I absolutely adore this song. There's a few of Al Green's that I would put right up there. And certainly for 1971, I'm feeling very good about placing it at number 2 in my top 10. Okay, you've been waiting for it. Number 1. If you've been following it closely, you'll probably be not surprised. My number 1, Won't Get Fooled Again, by the rock band The Who, written by Pete Townsend, released as a single in January 71 and reached the top 10 in the UK. The full 8.5-minute version, however, appears as the final track on the band's 71 album, Who's Next, which was released in August. Townsend originally wrote the song as a closing number of the Lighthouse Project, and the lyrics criticise revolution and power. The track is known for its staccato keyboard figure played on a simple home organ with a rhythm feature that produced a synth-like effect. Ultimately, Livehouse as a project was abandoned in favour of the album Who's Next, which became a straightforward album. It became the closing track on that album and achieved critical praise. It appears as one of Rolling Stone's the 500 greatest songs of all time. As I say, originally intended for the rock opera Livehouse, it was based on the followings of the Indian religious avatar Meher Baba, showing how spiritual enlightenment could be obtained via a combination of band and audience. The song was written for the end of the opera after the main character Bobby's killed and the universal chord is sounded. The main characters disappear, leaving behind the government and Arnie, who are left to bully each number. Townsend described the song as one that screams defiance at those who feel any cause is better than no cause. He later said that the song was not strictly anti-revolution, despite the lyric, "We'll be fighting in the streets," but stressed that revolution could be unpredictable, adding, "Don't expect to see what you expect to see. Expect nothing and you might gain everything." Bassist John Entwistle later said the song showed Townsend saying things that really mattered to him and saying them for the first time. Glyn Johns helped with production and reused the synthesized organ track from Townsend's original demo. And Keith Moon had to carefully synchronize his drum playing with the synthesizer, while Townsend and Entwistle played guitar and bass. Townsend actually played a 1959 Gretsch 6120 Chet Atkins hollow body guitar. And as I say, it was released as an A-side in 71 in the UK. And it was absolutely adored by fans and strong praise from critics who were impressed that a synthesizer had managed to be integrated so successfully within a rock song. Finally, The Who author Dave Marsh described singer Roger Daltrey's scream near the end of the track as the greatest scream of a career filled with screams. I was fortunate to see The Who at the 1974 Charlton concert and witnessed this played live to close the set with the laser show, and it was absolutely tremendous. So that's my number one for 1971, my top 10 songs. Won't Get Fooled Again by The Who.